Welcome to episode 10 of At Your Doorstep. I'm your host, Kaylee Nix. This is a show where we detail everything last mile delivery, new technology, and the gig economy. Today, we're talking to one company that has officially hit unicorn status, the latest one to do so. But before we get there, let's talk about some of the top headlines on modernshipper.com. Starting off strong when it comes to e-commerce. We know that e-com soared to shopping dominance during the pandemic when it came to consumers, but what about along the B2B market? According to a survey put out by Amazon, more B2B businesses are focusing on developing e-commerce platforms as we're coming out of the pandemic, as businesses turn to more standard online shopping procedures. You can find that story online, written by managing editor Brian Strait. And of course, porch pirates are annoying at most, but could they legitimately be dangerous? Modern Shipper contributor John Sims writes that porch pirates and porch theft cost consumers and businesses over $9 billion a year. Even though most people spend money on protecting their home from breaking and entering and burglary, they don't spend that money on protecting themselves from porch theft and porch pirates. You can also find that story online at modernshipper.com. Here at FreightWaves, we talk a lot about companies that hit unicorn status or $1 billion in valuation. And on this episode of At Your Doorstep, we're going to bring you the latest company to do so. No pun intended. Today I've got on the CEO of Bringg, Guy Bloch. Guy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
We're super excited to talk to you about this really major accomplishment when it comes to securing funding. Before we get started, though, give us a little bit of information about yourself, what you do at Bringg, and really just the entire company as a whole.
Wow, that's a long story here. But so Guy Bloch, the CEO of Bringg, I actually spent the majority of my years in New York, in the U.S., working in enterprise software companies and enterprise SaaS companies, working in business applications as well as data platforms. When I ran into Bringg and I saw the opportunity to help transform the entire last mile space, where we have so many disparate systems that need to come together in order to help brands scale up and optimize in a competitive world where in online, as you know, it's all about the four things that marketplaces really defined, which is convenient, cost-effective, fast, and very reliable deliveries. When I saw the opportunity of actually create a platform that is driven by data and by that help companies compete with the marketplaces of the world, I looked also at Bringg. I looked at the customer base, and I saw where the market is heading. And that was pre-pandemic, pre-COVID. I realized this is a very big opportunity, and with the growth of the market over a few years, I realized that a lot of the focus in e-commerce will be about how do we transform ourselves so that every brand can actually act like a marketplace, and by that be able to compete in the market effectively. Specifically on Bringg, we are a fulfillment and delivery orchestration platform. We help every company that ships food, goods, services to their customers to scale up and optimize themselves in the competitive world of online and e-commerce. Our philosophy is very simple. When you digitize, when you connect every node, every step of the fulfillment process, and when you help companies bring technology with access to connected logistic networks, the whole idea of automation, orchestration, and the optimization becomes the data intelligence game, and that's what we're here to do for our customers.
Wow, that's honestly probably the best summation of Bringg overall, and then really just any software as a service platform. And that's kind of the direction where we're all heading, right? Is people are taking these software opportunities and not only using them as just a tool, but also using it as a full service to help their company excel in different ways. So Bringg is based in Israel, but you guys have a global reach. You have 6 global offices doing deliveries in over 50 different countries across the world. Talk to me a little bit about what it means to take a country so global like this and any keys to success that you guys have with making that work.
Yeah, well, to take a company global, it starts with the state of mind of the company. And from day one, you need to think global. and to think global, that, and especially now in the digital world. And I think we saw during the COVID and during the pandemic how the entire world moved into working remotely and using Zoom. I even have, in my relationships, I have a good friend that is a banker, and in one of our conversations, we talked, and I saw that he was in a very exotic place, and I asked him, "Where are you?" And he said, "I'm in Costa Rica." And meanwhile, the guy is doing M&As and taking companies to public. And I think it just emphasized that in a digital world, it doesn't really matter where you are, as long as you think global. And you build a global company, then this is definitely possible. In one of my early conversations with the Bringg employees, I told them it happened to be that we are in Israel. We could have been anywhere else, if it's in Cyprus or in the Bahamas. Our customers are everywhere. That means that we need to build operations that is 24/7. And by that, make ourselves accessible to the global market. The other thing is diversity. Diversity is very important. It sits in the heart of our company. And diversity means that we look at people as talent, and we're not looking for specific people from specific nationalities or specific language. We look at people as talent. We want to see a heterogeneous environment, and therefore, even in Israel, we have so many people that came from different countries, if it's in Europe or South Africa or Australia and the US. Culture is very important. When you have 6 offices globally, you want everyone to be a Bringster and everyone to follow the values of the system. So we're putting a lot of emphasis on building an open, safe, fun team environment. So our talent will be able to unleash their potential, and by that make the impact on the market and our customers. And the last thing to create a global company, it's actually to create autonomous entities. So if we have our presence, our office in Chicago, the office has all the things that they need to do in order to operate in full efficiency without being dependent on the teams that sit in Israel. So every office, in a way, acts as an autonomous unit. And by that, they can serve the local markets and make sure that wherever we are, we're local, we're accessible, and we're supportive of our customers.
That's a really, really interesting strategy, to be kind of hyper-local and have that flexibility to serve what's going on in your market individually, but still offer the services that the company offers as a whole. And I would argue that some of that flexibility and some of those breaking down of physical barriers, whether that's movement from country to country or just the ability to work from wherever you possibly need to because of the COVID-19 pandemic, has kind of led to the ability to really adapt quickly and efficiently to all of these major supply chain disruptions. And obviously during the COVID-19 pandemic, it wasn't just the pandemic that was a disruptor. There was the lack of capacity, and then layoffs and things closing, and then second and third and fourth waves of the virus. Talk to me a little bit about how Bringg and its platform has kind of helped its clients see those changes and quickly adapt to any of those major disruptions across the supply chain network.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we go back to the first few weeks of the pandemic, here at Bringg, we very quickly realized when we saw the first pictures coming from China that if this thing is becoming a global pandemic, that it will create a major impact in almost every country and every market. It was clear to us that the world will move into lockdowns in order to fight the pandemic and help to get the world from the situation we're getting in. That means stores will be shut down, or if there are no restrictions, people will just avoid going into stores. And we realized that the world will, what we thought will happen over a few years, we very quickly realized that the move from offline to online will be very rapid and very quickly. And fact of matter, a few weeks after that, we actually saw it first with our with our customers that were on the platform. We saw dramatic increase of hundreds percent week over week in terms of using our platform and fulfilling and delivering their services and their goods to their customers. With that came increase in enhancement requests and new features that customers needed in order to cope with the pandemic. If it was features like contactless delivery, drive-through, the ability to connect to more fleets, or even fleets that typically would not be in the delivery space or last mile space. People realize that the lack of capacity creates an opportunity, and we had so many new fleets that joined our network, our delivery hub. So the first thing that we saw is a shock from the market. Very quickly after that, we saw dramatic increase in the activity on our platform with the existing customers. And just after that, we saw an entire market scattering around for solutions. And the message from all the customers that approached us was very simple. Time to market is now. We need to be on our feet within a few weeks because we need to recover our revenue stream. We have to move online, and to do that and effectively compete against other brands that know how to do it very well, or compete against other marketplaces, we need to be in a position where we provide the convenient, cost-effective, fast, and reliable delivery. And that drove the growth of the company.
So regardless of disparities caused directly from the pandemic, do you guys at Bringg see any disparities on a country-to-country basis, or even a company-to-company basis when it comes to handling the way that their supply chain flows? And if you guys see those disparities, do you take any active effort in trying to help decrease those disparities and get people on a more even playing field when it comes to how they're utilizing their supply chain?
Yeah, in the end of the day, every company is different by the way they want to differentiate themselves in the market, especially in the online space. That, in a way, the only physical touch between the brand and the consumer is actually the last mile. And what we see is customers want to create their own delivery models and their own workflows, and be able to drive optimization, and they're coming with different ideas. And this is why our job is to serve the market with an open platform that on one end has the ability to digitize and connect the entire fulfillment network, but on the other end, give them the flexibility to configure that their own way, and by that to create the differentiation. I can tell you that we have customers, we're serving verticals like restaurants and grocery and retail and logistics and telcos and services. And what's interesting, sometimes you'll be serving the same very similar customers in one vertical, but when you look at how they configure the solution and how they serve the market, it's the same platform, it's the same Bringg, but the configuration dramatically very different. Some will ship from stores, some will ship from warehouses, some will offer scheduled delivery, some will do that as an on-demand, some will use their drivers, some will use multiple fleets. So there's so many variances because there's so many moving pieces, and every piece and every step of the way can be configured and optimized, that we ending up to see so many different implementations for our customers. But clearly, customers are looking to differentiate themselves, and they're not looking to just repeat. They want to use best practices. They want to use to see the benchmark in the market, compare themselves against the benchmark, but they always aspire to do it in their unique way.
That's really interesting that you bring that up, because as a customer and as a provider of a software as a service or a cloud-based platform, you can provide the solution, but the way to success is that your solution has to be malleable. And those clients that come in, they have the different needs, the different wants, or they say that we want this one thing, but we just want to do it a different way. That's what makes a successful company, is the ability to take it and adapt it to what you need individually, correct?
That's correct. First of all, our job is to make sure that our platform and our services are accessible, usable, and valuable to everyone. So, and that's the first value that we bring to the market. With so many implementation and so much experience and knowledge that we collected over the years, our customers expect us to bring that to the table. If you think about the rule of the 10,000 hours, and anything you do 10,000 hours, you will become the best you can be. So we bring with us the 10,000 hours of knowledge and experience in the market, and making that accessible, usable, and valuable to everyone. But from this point on, the real work with the customers is to provide them the best practices that we have, to provide them the things that we know worked for other customers, provide them the benchmarks of where they should aspire to be and what is achievable and possible in the market. And with that, start building the different nuances into our platform to really tailor that to their needs. So the importance of being flexible, not just accessible through the cloud, but being flexible and give the control in their hands is imperative for their success.
So when it comes to talking about value, you guys just hit a major milestone when it comes to the actual value of Bringg, the company itself. Y'all just secured another round of Series E funding, brings your total valuation up over $1 billion. Talk to me about the secure of this funding, how important that is to furthering the mission, and then really what's next now that you guys have this money in hand and what you guys are going to do with it.
Yeah, first of all, we are humbled by this round. We are humbled by the conviction that the support we're getting from the market, especially from inside. It was just a joy and a great experience throughout the process. That's not a new relationship. We've been working on this relationship already from the previous round. So for us, it's never just the funding; it's the partnership, and it's the partnership and what is that we can do together as we go to market. So that was very important to us, and we are humbled because. It was very clear that the market and the investor community sees a big opportunity in the ecosystem that enables the e-commerce. As many investors told us, e-commerce is booming. The move from offline to online is now a fact. It's no longer a nice to have. This is a strategic necessity for every brand. That means that the entire ecosystem, not just last mile, inventory management, order management systems, the entire ecosystem that supports, that supports the ecosystem will boom with that. And when they look specifically into the last mile, they saw Bringg and they saw we're leading the market, cross vertical, cross region, very flexible. And to us, that means, and when I talked to the employees yesterday, and I shared that with them, to us, that first mean that there is big conviction in who we are and why we are here and what we are here to do. To us, it was very, very important. In terms of why we did the round, we never really planned to do that round, but as we saw the market getting accelerated, and moving very quickly. We saw the demand of customers that needed more features, more capabilities, more functionalities. We realized that, and by the way, with hundreds of millions of dollars being poured into the last mile market and so many new technologies and so many innovations that are great innovations, but as young companies, it's hard for them to stand on their own. We realize there is a big opportunity here to make acquisitions and start consolidating great technologies and great people under one control tower. We have a platform. We don't have a point solution. As I always like to say, we have a start, there is no end. And the more we'll bring to our customer, the more value they realize from that. And that was a big focus for us. So where Insight reached out and during this relationship, when we identified that opportunity, we clearly put that goal of M&A activity in front of us. And the other thing, we have a very ambitious product vision and product roadmap. And we have a lot to do. Yes, not everything we need to do ourselves. Some of that we partner with other companies, bringing great technologies into the platform. Some of that we will acquire, but the core of our platform is something that we're building. And there's so much work to do. We need so much more capacity and expanding, not just in the product and the R&D, but also in our customer success organization. And therefore, we decided to do this round and welcome Insight into the family.
And so the reach of Bringg is huge, and the services that you guys offer is really incredible with the selection of what you can do, from last mile delivery to dispatch, fleet efficiency, everything in between. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Is there a certain thing that Bringg does that you're just like, man, this is what I love seeing our customers do? Or is it really more just about seeing what the customers do with all aspects of the platform as a whole, and seeing where they build it just from having the platform and where those customers can take it for themselves?
As a platform, there is just no one thing. If it's a point solution, yes, it's just fleet management, it's just route optimization, maybe it's just auto dispatch, or just integration into or access to other delivery networks. But as a platform, what drives us is really two things: the platform vision and the network vision. Why? Very simple. When you look at marketplaces that perfected deliveries and making every delivery convenient, cost-effective, fast, and reliable, and you ask yourself, why? How can they do that? They are not brands. They are actually technology and logistic experts. They're technology and logistic companies. On one end, they have access to massive logistic network, connected logistic network. Some parts they will own, some part they will just rely on the partner ecosystem. But what drives that efficiency is the technology itself that digitizes and connects the entire fulfillment process. And when a delivery comes or driver shows up, the package is always ready to be delivered, and that's what makes them very efficient. For brands that are experts in creating the food or the groceries or the merchandise, for brands to become in no time a technology and logistic expert, that's a challenge. There are very few, a handful that might be able to do that themselves, but it takes vision, and it takes expertise, and it takes knowledge of so many different implementations. And from our perspective, was important for us to make it available to our customers. So with us, it's really the focus on the the network and the platform vision, and no different than any other marketplace. Help every customer have the access to millions of drivers. If it's crowdsourced, if it's 3PLs, if it's just traditional parcels, or maybe just using their drivers, you have to excel in each and every one of the layers. But then at the same point, help both the logistic companies, but also the retailers to fulfill the delivery in an efficient way. So to digitize and orchestrate that entire process was very, very key for us.
It seems like there is only room to grow for Bringg, and we're going to be very excited to watch and see what you guys do next. Guy, thank you so much for joining me on this episode at Your Doorstep. Super great conversation, and we're very, very excited to get to see where you guys take it.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of At Your Doorstep. You can always catch this show Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Find it on demand at FreightWaves.com and anywhere that you get your podcasts, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Make sure that you're connecting with me on LinkedIn or Twitter, and have a great day.